I never planned to lead, but here's why I do. My name is Ziah Badami, and I'm in year 12. Before I start, I want to paint a picture of a younger version of me. I was the girl that sat in the second row, never the front. I had a lot of thoughts, but I rarely said them out loud. I was the kind of student that teachers always said, "She's so smart, but she never participates." I was shy and insecure and very, very short, which, believe it or not, feels like a big deal when you're constantly told to stand in front for photos, but you don't feel like you belong there. So when people ask me why I chose to be one of the head girls, the truth is, I didn't. It wasn't a part of a dream that I grew up with, but I'm here to share the journey that got me here. Let's rewind back into year 10, a moment that I call my history GCSE crisis. I remember sitting at the back of the class trying to memorize facts and stats that just refused to stick. People would often scream the answers with so much confidence, and I would think, why does this come so easily to everybody else? Spoiler alert, it didn't. But I convinced myself that struggling meant I wasn't good enough. And that feeling stayed with me throughout my life, not just in history. Every time I was asked to speak, a quiet panic would rise in my chest and my heart would start racing faster. A voice in my head would tell me, someone else is going to say what you're saying better. Yet here I am, standing on a TEDx stage. So what changed? It wasn't a magical moment or a sudden burst of confidence. It was a slow shift. When I stopped trying to be someone I wasn't, and instead started becoming someone I wanted to be proud of. Being underestimated always hurt. I was bullied and walked over for a lot of my life, and it left a mark. I was teased for my size, and even now, people push past me in the stairway and have whispers like, "Look at how small she is," as if I didn't hear it. Sometimes, even adults join in with things like, "She's vertically challenged," and they laugh like it's nothing, but it's not nothing when you've heard it your entire life. It used to hurt, and honestly, some days it still does, but eventually I stopped wishing I could change it, because being underestimated gave me a kind of power, the power to prove people wrong. So I began speaking up, even when my voice trembled, because I learned that bravery doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing it anyways. So if you ask the people who were friends with me when I first joined SAFA all the way back in year 7 what I was like, they'd probably say I was someone quiet, someone who went with the flow, someone they even saw as a little bit weak. I didn't want to rock the boat or stand out. If you ask my friends now, they'll tell you I'm the most confident one, the one that speaks her mind, who's not afraid to be different, to challenge things, or say the things that people are too nervous to say out loud. Speaking of people that always saw potential in me, even when I didn't see it in myself, I have to mention my psychology teacher, Miss Alport. She's been teaching me all the way back since year 10 when I first started psychology, and even now in year 12 in my A-levels. She constantly reminds me, sometimes with a bit too much pride, that I used to be the quietest girl in the class, and somehow I've developed an unbelievable amount of sass and confidence. I mean, those are her words, not mine, but she's right. So when the opportunity came to become part of the student executive, the voice in my head came back, the one that said, "You're not what a leader looks like." But then I thought back to all the girls just like me, the ones who felt too different, too unsure to lead. And let's be real, I'm not the perfect head girl. I don't get 100% on every single exam. I don't volunteer for everything or even play every sport. But I'm just like a lot of you, figuring things out just as I go, step by step. And I realized we need leaders just like me, those who are unsure. So I said yes. And being head girl has taught me more than any classroom ever could. How to listen, how to lift others, and how to lead with purpose, not perfection. People often tell me, "You're so confident now, I couldn't do what you do." And I smile and laugh because only if they knew what brought me here. Confidence isn't something I was born with. It's something I've built slowly, brick by brick, speech by speech, mistake by mistake. And you just have to believe that your voice matters, even if you whisper it at first. So if you're sitting there right now, feeling like the background character in someone else's story, I see you. I was you. And the spotlight isn't just for the loudest or the tallest, it's just anyone who's brave enough to step in. So I never planned to lead, but now I do, because I believe that leadership comes from the heart, and the best leaders are the ones who say yes, even when they're scared. Thank you.